So you found your forever home. Congratulations. Statistically, most people live in their homes for about 7 to 10 years. Now, don't get me wrong, 7 to 10 years is quite a long time. I mean, it's enough time for a person to go from having booze crawls with their buddies to changing diapers at 2 a.m. Life definitely comes at you fast. But what if there was a way to look beyond just that 7 to 10 years? What if there was a system, or better yet, a formula that you could follow to allow you to look at your current home or your future real estate purchase beyond that 7 to 10 year time horizon? That's why we've come up with a simple 4-part process that will help you future-proof either your current residence or your future real estate purchase. We call that the Forever Home Formula. And in this video, we are going to go through all 4 steps that will hopefully help you either create a future-proof current home, or if you're looking for that new real estate, purchase that home that has the future flexibility that not only satisfies your current needs, but also your potential future needs. Now, before we get into formulas and fixes, let's talk about what future-proofing a home actually is. So future-proofing is a bit like trying to predict the future. Now, you won't have a clear idea of exactly what lies ahead, but the idea is to try to anticipate how your life may shift and change going forward. If you take your current life and you think back 5 to 7 years ago, it's very unlikely that you would have been able to map out exactly where you are right now. So when we think 5 to 7 years in the future, we aren't really going to have a clear picture of what that is, but we may have some type of indication of what to expect. If you don't have kids yet, or you are expanding your family, you likely have some sort of idea of what to expect of your family makeup in the future, but you may not have an exact roadmap. So when we think about future-proofing, we are thinking about flex spaces. So these are unused spaces in your home, whether it be a den or a basement or even a walk-in closet. I mean, it could even be an L-shaped room that you could section off and create a brand new room out of. So there's many flex spaces in people's houses that currently go unused, or when you're looking at buying a new house, you could be looking at a basement as an afterthought, or a potential den or a 3rd bedroom as an afterthought. But these are really important spaces that can help you adapt to any future needs that may arise with your expanding family. So let's jump right into the list. Let's go into step number 1, which is assessing and planning. You want to assess your current space and look to see if you have any of those current, what we call flex spaces. Do you have a den that you're currently using as an office? Or do you have a basement that might be unfinished and you're just using it as a dumping ground? You want to look at spaces that perhaps you could use as a new flex space. Or perhaps you have certain pieces of furniture in your house, whether it be a Murphy bed, or whether it be a convertible coffee table that can go from a coffee table to a dining table. Perhaps you already have some of these things. And if you don't, then we'll go through the next process of trying to assess, do you need now to look for a new space? And even in that new space, you want to ensure that that new space is also future-proof. You want to make sure that new space has those flex spaces, or it has the room for some of these convertible pieces of furniture or some of those features that could be used to adapt to future uses. Now, this leads us into step number 2, which is design and flexibility. This goes hand in hand with step 1. Once we assess your needs, if you currently have those flex spaces, we go into looking at the design of this space. Or if you're looking to purchase a new property, we make sure that those flex spaces can be designed with the future use in mind and not just your current use. So as an example, a 1-bedroom condo that has a den, we want to make sure that that den could be potentially closed in with a piece of glass. We want to also make sure that the measurements of the room could accommodate a normal size single or double bed, or even as something as small as a toddler bed. You want to make sure that the space, while you may use it currently for, let's say, an office or a workout space could easily be adaptable to suit a potential bedroom in the future. Or perhaps if there's a basement in a house that you're looking at, or if you currently have a basement, that it has the height required and the space required for you to adapt the space into a current living space. And in this design phase, we also want to be thinking about some of the furniture pieces you might be acquiring. You want to make sure that a lot of these furniture pieces are adaptable, right? Whether it be a Murphy bed that converts into a desk during the day, or it could be a dining table that could also be used as a workspace during the day when you're not eating. Every piece of furniture is key in this idea of future-proofing to make sure that every room and every piece that you have can easily be adaptable and moldable to whatever it is you're going to be using it for at that moment in time. Now we'll move into step number 3, which is future-proofing features and upgrades. This is actually one of the most important steps, in my opinion, in the whole process, and something that actually kind of goes overlooked. When future-proofing features and upgrades, we have to think about the build quality or the quality of the materials, or perhaps some upgrades that you can make to your space that perhaps in many cases is an afterthought, but it's something that is well worth considering, especially if you want your space to be able to last and be able to be used for multiple years beyond that 7 to 10 year time horizon. So let me give you an example. If you're looking at a condo or a new house, one of the key areas in any home is the kitchen. The kitchen island in many cases is an upgrade. A kitchen island from a utilitarian standpoint is a place where you're going to prepare food. But for most of us, we actually use our islands for many things. It may be a spot for you to actually eat dinner. It could be a spot where, when you have little kids, it's a spot where they sit down and do homework while you're prepping food, whether it be in the morning or in the evening after school. It can also be a space where you sit down with your laptop and do work, right? So if you don't have an island, it's well worth considering that upgrade to put an island in your space. Or if there's already an island there, sometimes it's worth paying for that little bit of extra upgrade to make that island quite large so you can use it for multiple uses. And again, future-proofing that space, because while right now it could just be the two of you with a small baby, in a few years, that family of 3 could expand to a family of 5, and that little island just doesn't work in it anymore. Or if you're in a condo and you don't have that island could be a very utilitarian piece that might go overlooked. Or when we think about other upgrades to the space and materials, something as simple as having a hollow door where you could replace that door with a solid core door. So you have a room that before didn't feel very private and the noise would travel through the door. Just having that one small upgrade to a solid core door makes a world of difference in terms of sound suppression. Let's say in a loft. A lot of lofts are beautiful. They have concrete floors and brick walls. The bad thing with concrete floors and brick walls is that they tend to create a lot of echo in a space. They don't do well for sound suppression. So something as simple as throwing in a hardwood floor, while it's still a hard surface, absorbs a little bit more noise than concrete. Choosing higher quality finishes or upgrading with higher quality materials to ensure that a lot of the upgrades you're making to your space can last well beyond that 7 to 10 year time horizon. So you're not having to do renovations over and over again in that same space. Because a lot of the times with my clients, when they decide to move is at the point when they know they have renovations coming up and they just simply don't want to go through the headache and pain of a renovation. So picking those key upgrades and features in the beginning when you currently have your space, or if you're considering reimagining or renovating that space right now, choosing high quality finishes, choosing those upgrades can make a world of difference into future-proofing that property. And then the last step, and it kind of ties everything together, is understanding the financial impacts of future-proofing. As I just mentioned, in the last step, picking high quality features, finishes, and upgrades, there is going to be a cost attached to that. A little bit of financial pain on the way in can go a long way to paying off in the long run. So whether that be in the potential resale of a property or just the fact that, moving is expensive, especially here in the city of Toronto where you're paying things like land transfer tax and all the different fees associated with moving every 7 to 10 years can be very taxing on a person's budget. So spending a little bit of more money on the way in, or considering doing a few upgrades on the way in or upgrades to your current place can save you a lot of money in the long run. Having to re-renovate a space multiple times, it just feels like you're dumping money and throwing it in a garbage bin and lighting it on fire. So spending a little bit of extra cash in the early stages of a renovation or when you're acquiring property can go a long way in the long term. And the other thing to consider in future-proofing is understanding the local market dynamics if you're looking to acquire a new property. Because future-proofing is not only the current space you're living in, it's also the geographic location. When you're looking at a new community, perhaps you're able to stretch your budget a little bit further in some of these new communities. Instead of buying, let's say, a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom house or condo in a trendy neighborhood right now, perhaps you can move to one of these under-the-radar neighborhoods and you're buying a slightly larger home, whether it be a 3, 4, 5-bedroom home that still fits within your budget, and then it allows you that future flexibility of more space. While you may not need it right now, it'll be very nice in, let's say, 5 to 7 years if you've had 2 to 3 more kids and you don't have to feel that pressure of moving right away because you made that decision very early on to perhaps look for real estate in an emerging community where the budget worked, and now you don't have to make that move once you have all these kids. Ultimately, the 4-step process, most of those items are pretty obvious for a lot of you out there. So while we all dream of that forever home where we're going to live and play and stay in the same dwelling for multiple decades, the reality of our lives is that for most of us, we tend to move around and things come up and we may have to make changes, and things change very rapidly in our current lives. Gone are the days where most people purchase a house in their early 20s and stay there until they're retired. That being said, there are still many scenarios where we don't necessarily have to pick up and move at the moment we have a kid, or we have a second kid or a third kid, and have to move on to a new space as soon as something changes in our lives. There are sometimes a lot of just small minor fixes we can make to our current place, or when we're looking for real estate, making these educated moves early on to protect against our future and have those extra flex spaces that we can use as our lives change and our families expand. We can just expand into the space that we currently have, and we can actually live some of those dreams of staying in a home beyond those 7 to 10 year time horizons. So if you've currently changed up any of those flex spaces in your current homes, we'd love to hear about it in the comments down below. Or if you're thinking about moving from your current home and purchasing some new real estate, and you want some tips about making that move and thinking about future-proofing your place on your next purchase, definitely book a call in the Calendly link down below. We'd be more than happy to talk real estate here in the city. And if you're not looking in the city, feel free to reach out to us, comment, send us an email. We'd be more than happy just to help you and consult on your next move. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe. We really want to build this community of people who are thinking differently about real estate here at Under the Radar Real Estate. And always remember, real estate, as in life, the next big thing might just be where you least expect it. That's it for today's show. Peace out.